it isn't just Afghanistan that has harmed Biden's standing. Public approval of his handling of the coronavirus pandemic, which had floated above 60% for much of the year, now rests in the low 50s, according to the 538 polling average. But the chaotic withdrawal of U.S. troops from Afghanistan, including the deaths of 13 U.S. service members in a terrorist attack, may prove the most damaging. One would agree that the Republicans will do better in managing the crisis, much better than President Biden is currently doing under the Democrats' government. Hello guys, welcome to my channel. Today, we take an in-depth look at the rising call for President Biden's resignation, the worldwide criticism on how President Biden is handling COVID-19, Afghanistan crisis, wildfires in the West and Hurricane Ida in the East, and why the Republicans will do better if in power. Before we begin, please subscribe to our channel and click the notification bell. Let's begin with what Ordan said on Fox News. According to him, what happened in Afghanistan was wrong. It was terrible. But frankly, it isn't surprising because what has this guy done right? He further went on to say, everything this guy touches, it goes bad. That's why I said he should resign. Republican Representative Greg Steube of Florida tweeted, "Horrific. Joe Biden needs to take responsibility and resign. We must keep our troops safe and our country protected. God bless our soldiers and their families." Meghan McCain joined the chorus, saying the president needed to take questions from every single journalist from the press corps or resign. She wrote on Twitter, resigning might be simpler for everyone at this point. U.S. Representative John Rutherford, who represents Florida's 4th Congressional District, blasted Biden in the wake of the Afghanistan withdrawal. He said, and I quote, "It's official, President Biden has left Americans stranded at the hands of the Taliban. He now must resign immediately or face impeachment proceedings in the House. There will be accountability for his despicable actions." At least 20 more House Republicans and conservative figures, including Missouri Senator Josh Hawley, former South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley, and Tennessee Senator Marsha Blackburn, have called for Biden's resignation. Nikki Haley, the former ambassador to the United Nations, also called for Biden's resignation but did point out the fact that Vice President Harris would then be the commander-in-chief. Haley said, "Should Biden step down or be removed for his handling of Afghanistan? Yes, but that would leave us with Kamala Harris, which would be 10 times worse. God help us." Some, such as U.S. Senator Rick Scott, have even called for the 25th Amendment to be invoked. Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene, who has been pushing for impeachment since Biden took office and recently introduced 3 more impeachment resolutions, also sought to take advantage by blasting out a campaign fundraising email from the Joe Biden impeachment committee. Tennessee Senator Marsha Blackburn took it even further, saying in a statement, "It's time for accountability, starting with those whose failed planning allowed these attacks to occur. Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, Antony Blinken, Lloyd Austin, and Mark Milley should all resign or face impeachment and removal from office. This is going to be a stain on this president and this presidency," said an angry top House Republican on Foreign Affairs Representative Michael McCaul in a CNN interview. Michael continued by saying, "I think he is going to have blood on his hands for what they did." Republican criticism of how President Biden is treating the crisis is creating a serious problem of what could eventually be political fallout for the president and his administration, hence the growing calls for this resignation. Now we take a look at the actions that led to his criticism and resignation calls. For instance, Biden surrendered to the Taliban. Donald Trump, who is considering running for the 2024 presidential challenge, said in a statement that President Biden surrendered to the Taliban. The Republicans have a chance to transform America's longest war into something Democrats own. The Republicans are saying, and probably will be instigating for a long time, that President Biden is the reason for the Afghanistan crisis, and he should embrace the fall of Afghanistan. Though President Biden defended himself by saying that the 20-year crisis came under the administration of 4 presidents, 2 of the presidents were Republican. George W. Bush initiated it, and President Joe Biden claims it was Trump's administration who agreed on a peace deal with the Taliban. But it is judicious to know that President Biden was the one who made decisions to officially stop the crisis, and has been unable to achieve that. Rather, he has caused more problems. A Republican president is expected to have managed the crisis well. Second reason, President Biden did not prepare. Though reports warned that the Taliban would dominate and take over the entire country if the United States leaves, yet this vital information was not taken seriously by President Biden's administration. Biden was practically not prepared for the worst-case scenario. A Republican in power will certainly be prepared. Senator Lindsey Graham of South Carolina said in a tweet that President Biden seems oblivious to the terrorist threats that will come from a Taliban-run Afghanistan. Senator Lindsey Graham continued by saying that President Biden absolutely bears the whole responsibility for the plan to withdraw United States troops from Afghanistan, as does Donald Trump and his administration. It's not just that people predicted that this would happen. Everyone was warned that this would happen, Senator Lindsey Graham said. President Biden gave notice in April that the U.S. would be leaving soon. But by mid-August, a lot of Afghanistan who agreed with the U.S. were still living in the country when the Taliban dominated and took over. Gross incompetence has given the Taliban a terrible opportunity to slaughter our allies, writes Senator Ben Sass. 88,000 of our Afghani allies have applied for visas to get out of the country, but this administration has approved just 1,200 so far. I've been among a bipartisan group of senators that has pushed Biden to expedite this process, but to no avail. At this point, it's not clear how many will be able to get out. Every translator and ally who stood by us is now at risk. President Joe Biden related to the end of the Vietnam War and the urgent rush to get out Vietnamese helpers and Americans. There's going to be no circumstance when you're going to see people being lifted off the roof, he said of Afghanistan. Representative Brian Mast, a veteran who lost both of his legs in Afghanistan, said, and I quote, "I have been asking for months for answers on how the Biden administration planned to execute this withdrawal. And now they've shown us, be so unprepared that all those who worked with us are going to be executed." Reason number 3, the withdrawal process is poor and the U.S. is not safe. The Afghanistan crisis affects traditional political lines. Donald Trump decided that the United States was going to take its troops home, and President Biden agreed. But the withdrawal process is slow, hence giving room for the Taliban to swiftly take over the country, and will leave the United States even more vulnerable. A Republican president would have provided a smarter way to leave. We're going to go back to a pre-9/11 state, a breeding foundation for terrorism. We've now created a situation where as we get to the 20th anniversary of 9/11, we are surrendering Afghanistan to the terrorist organization that housed al-Qaeda when they plotted and planned the attacks against us, said Representative Liz Cheney, whose biological father was the vice president when the U.S. dominated Afghanistan. Senator Lindsey Graham also said, America will be seen as weak in the eyes of our enemies and unreliable in the eyes of our allies. Reason number 4, President Biden give excuses instead of the result. President Biden is feeling the political tension and heat. But, instead of tackling the situation judiciously and producing a productive result, President Biden is busy throwing stones and giving excuses. President Biden recently issued a lengthy statement explaining why he decided to withdraw. The peak of his defense pointed to Donald Trump, whom President Biden accused vehemently of negotiating an agreement with the Taliban that made America decide whether to fight and stay or leave immediately. President Biden said, and I quote, "When I came to office, I inherited a deal cut by my predecessor, which he invited the Taliban to discuss at Camp David on the eve of 9/11 of 2019, that left the Taliban in the strongest position militarily since 2001, and imposed a May 1, 2021 deadline on U.S. forces. Shortly before he left office, he also drew U.S. forces down to a bare minimum of 2,500. Therefore, when I became president, I faced a choice: follow through on the deal, with a brief extension to get our forces and our allies' forces out safely, or ramp up our presence, and send more American troops to fight once again in another country's civil conflict. I was the 4th president to preside over an American troop presence in Afghanistan, 2 Republicans, 2 Democrats. I would not, and will not, pass this war on to a 5th. Donald Trump, if in power, would be more effective, as Republicans are widely known for producing results and not giving excuses. Thanks for watching and subscribing to our channel. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel to be updated the next time I post a new video.